Okay, hello, my friends. There's a lot of ground to cover today, so we're just going to get right into it. In 10 minutes, you'll have everything that you need for the day. 1,140 Russians off the battlefield, 2 tanks, 13 armored combat vehicles, 56 artillery systems, and 58 vehicles and fuel tanks. It's about what it's been for the last few weeks, even months. Here are the losses Andrew Perpetua identified for yesterday. It's about 1.5 to 1, not quite, maybe 1.33 to 1 Russian losses to Ukrainian losses. Ukraine downs 20 Shaheeds in 6 Ukraine oblasts. 5 more drones were lost. According to regional authorities, Russian attacks were against Ukraine killed at least 1 person and injured at least 18 over the past day. So the hits keep coming, but that's a good number. So when you have about 25 drones, that's not saving up for a rainy day. That's just trying to do something to you each day. Satellite imagery shows the aftermath of Ukraine's attack on a Russian ammo depot in Voronezh Oblast. This was 7 September. This was about a little less than a week ago. So, yep, something very clearly happened here, and you can see that. All right. Freight train derailed in Belgorod region, and there's a criminal case initiated that some nefarious activities were going on, and we don't know much more than that, but more of these kind of hits keep coming, and they add up. This one was really interesting. 2 Russian school children deliberately burned down a Mi-8 helicopter that was parked at an airfield in the city of Novorossiysk. The arsonists were careless, so they received burns and sought medical attention. Meanwhile, the helicopter burned completely. That's a picture of the helicopter. The white is foam, like trying to extinguish it, but that's what happened. An unknown person promised them 5 million rubles for the destruction of Russian equipment. So, yeah, I'm not sure exactly what was happening, but that helicopter is no more. Now, there's an air alert in the Russian Murmansk region. Possibly Ukrainian UAVs have reached this part of Russia, in which the Olenya Air Base with its strategic bombers is situated. The air base is more than 1,700 kilometers or 1,100 miles from the Ukrainian border. Here's Ukraine's border, and it goes all the way up there. I mean, it's up toward the Arctic. More of this is going to keep happening over time. That's pretty significant that they were able to push a drone that far without any air defense shooting it down. But again, Russia's a big country, and it's going to be hard to defend all of it. Okay. The big story, actually, there's 2 big stories right now. The first one is this. In Kursk, Russians are pushing south from Kornevo, Kursk region in Russia. I believe that they're trying to break the semi-cauldron here, and this is what we're looking at, and they're trying to push through. Okay, I think that what's going to happen here is that, so the Russians are overwhelmingly, their forces are overwhelmingly large compared to the Ukrainians in the area, but the Ukrainians have used the geography of the region, and they had the surprise to be able to set up and get defensive. So that's what you're up against here. Russia has launched a counteroffensive in the Kursk region. Z channels have reported. Abdi Adlutinov, the commander of the Akhmut, he's the Akhmut Special Forces guy, claims that Russian troops have occupied several settlements in Kursk region, but it is not known which ones. MASH claims that Russian troops have regained control over 8 villages, occupied 150 square kilometers. The Ukrainian OSINT project, the deep state, also reports about the counteroffensive of the Russian armed forces in the Kursk region. The authors wrote about it as worsening situation on the left flank. The photo allegedly shows the movement of a column of Russian equipment from Kornevo. Okay, so that's what's happening, but we don't know the extent of it. So, for example, Alutinov says this, quote, Russian forces have liberated around 10 settlements in the Kursk region, unquote. Okay, but he's Ludendorff, and he kind of lies. He already said the war is over anyway. And some of the comments down here were rich. The same guy who's claimed multiple times that the Kursk offensive has been destroyed, and proof. Or is this just another TikTok video? Or until now, I had the impression that the Russians had some success. Now I'm less sure. No, they're having some success. You just can't believe what he has to say. So Okay, let's go and look at this. Kursk and the border operations, day 37 from Noel reports. Russia claims to have recaptured 2 settlements in the Kursk region. Okay, so we got 2, 8, and 10. I'm not sure which is accurate. Maybe this was early. Maybe this is right. I just don't know. Russian sources claim that 2 settlements were recaptured in the Kursk region by the Russian 56th Guards Air Assault Regiment without specifying which ones. Now, air assault would lead you to believe that they're more specialized, and guards is usually a moniker that goes with things like special operation or ranger or something along those lines. It doesn't need to be. Sometimes it's just honorary, but when you see guards, it's theoretically an elite force. Okay, shifting to some political news, Lithuanian president, the Czech Senate president, and the Latvian prime minister arrived in Kyiv today, September 11th. They will take part in the Crimean Platform Summit. And so that will be, we'll talk about that later on. It's going to be a big meeting. And let's move on to the next thing. Iran transferred missiles to Russia, which will lead to the death of even more Ukrainians, according to the Pentagon. Fast 360 missiles have a range of about 120 kilometers. It's not that much. According to the United States, dozens of Russian military personnel have already been trained in Iran on how to use this missile system. Okay, so that's bad, but that might be the straw that broke the camel's back. We just don't know. Right now, President Joe Biden stated that the issue of lifting the ban on Ukraine's use of long-range weapons is currently under consideration. He said the policy hadn't changed, but if you watched Jake Bro last night, Jake Bro was saying, yeah, it's a done deal. There is this person who is somewhere in proximity to these negotiations, and it's going to happen. That's great news if it actually does happen, and I have no reason to doubt Jake's sources, but when it actually happens, I'll let you know. So far, it's not been officially pronounced, but it probably will be, it looks like. Breaking: Secretary Blinken and Dave Lammy, his counterpart from the British equivalent of the Secretary of State, traveled to Kyiv. 17 top former officials and experts called on the U.S. and the U.K. to let Ukraine strike back. Meanwhile, Dmitry Peskov, he's Putin's press secretary, is saying he stated that the decision to carry out strikes deep into Russian territory with ATACMS missiles has been made and is currently being formalized. So maybe he knows something that we don't know, but he's saying it's already happening. Okay. The Biden strategy on Ukraine is to lose, but lose slowly, not handing it all to Putin in any 1 4-year election cycle. But the Baltics, Moldova, Poland, they know what's coming, right? Okay, now this is commentary. This isn't like some factual whatever. He's not saying that this is going to be the case, but there's something here that's what it has looked like. So hopefully this reverses, and Dmitry Peskov, I'm hoping Peskov's right, like for the first time. Okay. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken and UK Foreign Secretary Lammy arrived in Kyiv to discuss the policy surrounding Ukrainian long-range counterstrikes against military targets in Russia using ATACMS and Storm Shadows. So let's see. Keep your fingers crossed. I think something might happen. Okay, today marks the 23rd anniversary of the largest T attack in human history. That was September 11th in the United States at the Twin Towers and the Pentagon being struck and the plane going down in Pennsylvania. It's kind of a fitting time for us to actually take it to those that are conducting terrorist activities. But we said that we were sanctioning the Iranians for what they have done here by supplying these ballistic missiles. But Jay and Kyiv showing this. This is the likely efficacy of today's weak U.S. sanctions on Iran are best explained by scrolling through the past 23 years of weak U.S. sanctions on Iran. Okay, I mean, that's fair enough. So the sanctions on Iran are not going to get us there, but allowing the Ukrainians to strike into Russia with U.S. missiles, that's going to change the tune. Okay, so again, they're working on it right now. The UK and partners have announced actions against Iran and Russia for the transfer of ballistic missiles and use against Ukraine. Iran air services to the UK and Europe to be restricted. Okay, so what? Iran and Russia officials and entities sanctioned. Okay. Russian cargo ships sanctioned. Okay. Let them strike back. If they strike back, that's going to be something significant. Good night. Sleep well. See you tomorrow. Remember I showed you the AK-47 or something on a drone? Well, I think this is an NLAW. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what it looks like. Some kind of shoulder-fired missile, not missile, shoulder-fired rocket kind of thing. The innovation is going to be wild, folks. Let Ukraine strike back. Let Ukraine strike back. Let Ukraine strike back. Let Ukraine strike back. That's what has to happen here. Self-defense is not escalation. We have to understand what we're dealing with and why. And then finally, we're going to end with this. Darth Putin, the 7 stages of escalation management. First, we condemn this. Then we condemn this strongly. Then we condemn this with concern. Then we are very concerned and condemn this. Then there will be consequences for as long as it takes. It's important not to escalate the situation. Repeat. Yeah, hopefully we can break out of that and actually do what needs to be done. All right, that's all that I have. Thank you, my friends. Thank you for the likes and the shares and the subscribes. Thank you to my members and my patrons. Members and patrons, either this Saturday or next Saturday, maybe even both, we're going to have another member and patron only live stream, so look forward to that. I'll put a link in for where members can see it and where patrons can see it. Thank you for your time. Thank you for the likes and the shares and the subscribes. And again, thank you for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine.